Let me guess, you try and stack a few dollars. You ain't trying to blow it all, you need financial knowledge. Need some tips on your taxes, so the IRS ain't bending you backwards. Well, you're in luck, you tuned into the master, Wendi Consultant.
My name is Wendi, Wendi with an I, of course. My name is Wendi White. I am powered by Wendi Consultant, LLC. This is my 3rd year of business. I tell people all the time, I don't use this as a way to get money. I use it as a marketing tool so that you can get the opportunity to learn about me. And I'm hoping that in this communication, you feel like, she's dope, let me do business with her. So it's more of like to me, it's more like an elevator speech, except it's, 25 to 30 minutes. Because if you don't know, this is anybody that's an accountant, busy season. It is officially kicking off on the 31st is the last day that businesses by law have to mail W-2s. So all my W-2 employees, be on the lookout for those. And for people who do have IRAs and do stock and stuff, your stuff doesn't come until like February. So, don't be trying to file your taxes, because if you haven't received, I do Vanguard. If you haven't received anything from Vanguard or Fidelity or John Hancock, there's a ton of different ones, then you need to wait until you get your tax form so you don't end up having to do an amendment. So I'll get started. As y'all know, I always start with a quote of the day. And so a little backstory, I used to work for a company that was a petroleum company in Richmond. I got an opportunity to sit down with a CFO, and we talked about what I wanted to talk about, because I had some questions about, electric cars. And he gave me so much free game, and I'm one of those people that I want to reciprocate that, because see, if I learn something, I want y'all to learn it too, because maybe it will influence you with the way it influenced me. Because immediately after I left that meeting, I went and bought some Shell stock, because I am not again a financial advisor, because I'm not going to jail. I don't have my certification yet, so I have to do that disclaimer. I do not tell you what stock to buy, but I'm saying that based off my conversation, I went ahead and bought some more stock in, like, Exxon, Shell, any type of the petroleum companies that you get gas from, BP. I went and bought stock in that because of the conversation. And on a sidebar, I also bought stock in not Tesla, but the pumps that they use to put into the different gas stations. Because see, I'm on a mindset of manufacturing, because I have a manufacturing background. And see, I know that there is a company that has to make the pumps that are used to, do the electricity. So I actually invested in those. And you have to remember that stock is one of those things where it's not short term, it's a long term thing. So it's kind of like you buy it and you forget it. And if you buy the right stock, you can look at it in 2 or 3 years and you might have a come up. Now, there are some stocks that do just really well. Shout out to Microsoft, shout out to Apple. I always say a joke that everybody always has a comment about me having a Google Pixel or a Samsung, but I have Apple stock. I got the email about the board meeting because I have a voting right. So I always tell people, don't worry about no blue or green checks. I don't give a damn about that. I'm worried about my dividends and my money that I'm making off of Apple. So I have Apple. I just don't. I have the MacBook. I just believe in separation of church and state. I don't need all my devices talking to each other. So, and shout out to Google Pixel. This phone is fire. Okay? Fire. One of the best cameras I've seen. It's like high definition, but that's a sidebar. My quote of the day comes from the founder of Kodak, and it says, if a man has wealth, he has to make a choice, because there's no money heaping up. He can keep it together in a bunch and then leave it for others to administer after he is dead, or he can get into the action and have fun while he is still alive. And so for some of y'all who don't know this, he actually committed suicide on the property of Kodak. For those who don't know who Kodak is, because I wasn't talking about Kodak Black. Kodak was the premier film camera. They actually create, like, I don't know if they have the patent, but they actually designed the first camera that you use, your portable cameras, to take pictures. However, because they were doing so well doing film for movies, like think about the huge film rolls, they were doing so much film for like Hollywood that they didn't expect for cameras to take off the way they did. So that's kind of where they dropped the ball, because I asked him that, because he used to work for Kodak, and I asked him, like, how did Kodak fumble the bag like that? Like, how did y'all create it? I think they even had the patent on it. Like, how did y'all create it and then, like, not even be able to, like, have a lucrative sales off of it? Like, they allowed Samsung and Sony and all of them to come in and just wipe it away. And it was because they were doing so much money and had so much in revenue in the film industry that they didn't even think that it was going to take off the way it did. But we all know, here we are in 2023. I got a smartwatch that I don't even know if it take camera pictures. It probably do. I haven't even learned the watch yet. And you have, a device like this, which is literally a walking computer with a camera on it. So I want to talk about electric vehicles. And it's so funny because I think recently Tesla just lowered the price of their cars. So they were charging, I don't know, because I don't feel full Tesla, but they started off at, like, let's say it was 50,000. They dropped it to 35,000 now. So for me, I would be like, bro, if I bought it at 50,000, y'all finna give me some money back, because now it's a lot lower. So I don't know how that goes. Anywho, so I want to talk briefly about electric cars and why I'm not for them, because this is just a Wendy's opinion, and then, you know, we all know what opinions are. Everybody has one, and this is just mine because, you know, I don't know if y'all know my background. My background started in food manufacturing. I worked for the largest privately held food manufacturing company in the United States called Cargill. And anything you eat or touch has probably came through Cargill. And I do mean anything. When I worked as a manager at Arby's, they made the roast beef for Arby's. They make, like, most food that you buy from, like, fast food, Sonic, you know, anything, McDonald's. Like, they used to do the eggs for McDonald's. And not the eggs, but they did do the eggs. But they did the shapes of the nuggets for McDonald's. Like, it was crazy how much stuff I learned about the food industry. It's part of the reason why I watched the documentary Food Inc. And a lot of y'all should too, because it would change your philosophy and understanding of, like, why people think I'm bougie because I only eat organic eggs or cage-free eggs. And I'm real funny about my orange juice. They got to be fresh squeezed because they put so much chemicals in orange juice. Like, it's crazy. So anyway, if you have not watched Food Inc., I tell you to watch it. It's free. I think it's, like, on Amazon. I don't think it's on Netflix anymore. But I watched it way back in 2011 when I was first working with them. So I worked for Cargill. I worked for a food manufacturing company called Camper Frio Food Group that was based out of Italy. Super dope company. They made prosciutto. So for all my people that like prosciutto ham and paninis, paninos, which is mozzarella stick wraps in either pepperoni, salami, or prosciutto ham. And it was just a dope process. I actually got to do cost accounting with them, and I loved it. Like, I hated costs in college, but it was so much fun doing it, going into the plant, timing people, calculating how many sticks of cheese it takes in a batch, and, like, doing the pricing and looking at stuff like that. So my background is in food. Then I transitioned into aviation for all my people. They call it double R. I call it Rolls Royce because I didn't even know what the hell that was. Somebody asked me for a double R hat, and I was like, I don't know what that is. And apparently that's what the rappers say. I just know it is Rolls or Rolls Royce. But I had the opportunity to work at Rolls Royce out here. They were manufacturing turbine engine parts. So it was rotators department, and I can't think of the other one because I've been out of it for so long, but they made the parts for the engines, because if you are on a plane, the next time you're on a commercial plane, look at the engine and you'll see a double R, which is Rolls Royce. They got out of the car business a long time ago. I believe BMW bought them out. They still hold the not the trademark, but the license. So Rolls Royce, you know, somebody sees Rolls Royce, they think luxury. Like, so they still hold that license, but they don't manufacture the car anymore. They sold that business off a long time ago. But they are in aviation. So, and then COVID happened, and I lost, I had to get another job. And so I went into a petroleum company that's based out of Richmond, and I learned so much. I was only there for about a year, but I did learn a lot. And I wanted to share the knowledge that I gained from just having conversations with the CFO, because he was super welcoming. Like most men are. Like, men have no problems giving you free game. And I don't have a problem giving you free game because, like I said, I'm going to tell you what I wrote down because that's knowledge that I learned. And I'm hoping that it will motivate or inspire you to learn more about stock or learn more about the industry and to invest. Because I keep telling y'all, like I did on the Local Search Live, passive income, stock is a huge factor in that. And I think I did a podcast episode a long time ago how I talked about I missed out on $250,000 because I didn't know I could invest in Chipotle, but just myself. I didn't know I could go to a Vanguard and log in and put in $25, $50 in as much as I wanted to. I thought I had to have a broker because of what I learned in school, and I didn't understand until I got into my first job and when I learned about, your target retirement and 401k, and I was like, I know that this isn't what I think it is. And when I did the math, I missed out on $250,000 from the time when I was at ANC, because I used to love Chipotle. Like, Chipotle used to be owned by McDonald's. People don't know that. They're no longer owned by McDonald's, but they were a subsidiary of McDonald's. And I remember I had researched them because I was like, who is this company? Like, where are they from? They came from Denver. I'm like, looking all into it. And they had stock. But like I said, I didn't know I could invest in it. And I don't even want to look and see what Chipotle stock is right now because it's something super ridiculous. And I don't even want to know. So I'm not even going to look it up. But I want to motivate you because you have to understand passive income is money that is made while you're sleeping. And that's dividends. Okay, if you don't know what a dividend is, please Google it. But that's dividends. That's money that you make when you're not even alive. You don't even have to be awake. It's just money that's flowing through. And the life goal should be, as a young person, because I consider myself still young, I'm in my mid-30s, you should be looking at ways to make money outside of you getting a W-2 job. Because for me, my goal is still to retire by 40. I got some time. I'm still going to make it happen. I'm not going to say that I'm not going to be still doing my business, but I'm going to allow myself to do a lot more personal than in my business. So, anywho, so I'll get to it. So, I was talking to, shout out to Brian, because he's still, I believe he's still the CFO out there. So, shout out to him because he just gave me so much information. So, let's talk about what an electric car is, just for people who may not know. An electric car, we're going to use Tesla for an example, is a car that you have to plug in to an electric outlet. So that means you either have to have money as far as a house to even add it to your house to be able to plug it into your garage, or two, you have to go to a charging station, and now they're everywhere. It used to be, when they first started, they weren't everywhere. They were like in mall parking lots sometimes, but now like they built one, like a Sheetz right around the corner from me has it, and it just has Tesla on it. It used to be that you could charge for free, but now I believe they charge you like a fee to charge your Tesla now, because you think about it, it's the same thing with gas. Somebody got to pay for it. So you either paying for it through your electricity bill at the house, or you're going to pay to use the service out in just out in public. And then you even have it for some apartment complexes. I've seen it where they have a couple of electric car stations that people can use in the parking lot. And so that's what an electric car is. Then you have a hybrid. A hybrid is a mix of gas and then electricity. So like you might have it where, you might be on electric, and then when your electric dies down, the gas kicks in, and it allows you to have a larger fuel supply. Because I think I'm just basing it off of my knowledge. When my sister had a Tesla, I believe like we drove to Florida or South Carolina, and we had to stop like twice to charge. So I think it's like maybe 400, 500 miles to a charge, but you don't want it to get too low and then you end up getting stuck, because back then, she had to look up and see where the next charging station was, because they weren't like how they are right now, where they're kind of like a lot of places. So that's what a hybrid is. And then you have what everybody has, including myself, gasoline. So there's, you go to the BP or Shell or, Sheetz, Wawa, whatever, you put gasoline in your car. So those are 3 options. Okay. I'm going to tell you the option that I'm about to go into, because right now I have gasoline, but when this lease is up, because I already told y'all about leasing cars, especially if you have a business, you put in your business name and you can take the deductions and write-offs. So I don't know how many ways I have to keep telling people, and I've said this before, I did Riley Marketing Stamps podcast where I talked about how Donald Trump didn't pay any taxes, and that's why he wasn't showing y'all. And then 2 weeks later, it was on the news that his taxes were released, and he paid like $1,500. I told y'all, everybody could be Donald Trump. Everybody could file bankruptcy. Bankruptcy is not a bad thing. I've done a podcast about that too. If you understand what bankruptcy is, it's not like Monopoly when you bankrupt and you just quit the game and throw all the pieces on the table because you're mad. Anybody could file bankruptcy because it's really like a reset. It allows you to start over. Same thing for foreclosures. It allows you to start over, and it falls off your credit after 7 years. 7 years is important because 7 is completion in the Bible, but 7 years is important because you would think in 7 years you would have had enough knowledge and did better and allowed yourself to make better decisions and do better with your money, so that you don't have to file bankruptcy again, or that you don't get foreclosed on again. So I just want to let people know that you don't have to be ashamed to say that you filed bankruptcy or you had foreclosures. I mean, I'm embarrassed because I just missed the car payment. I ain't never missed no car payment before. I just completely forgot about it. And I was like, oh my God, my credit. But if you pay within 30 days, it's not a hit on your credit. Yeah, as soon as I realized that it was a week late, I paid it because I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize I missed it. But anyway, the way I'm going and the way I'm looking, so I don't know if y'all know, but Audi does have a hybrid now, and I'm going to be looking into transitioning to that when my lease is up. Like I said, if you haven't checked out my live, if you haven't checked out my podcast on leases, check it out. If you haven't checked out my podcast about bankruptcy and foreclosures, check it out, because it's a lot of good information, and I think that you would, get a lot out of it. So, anywho, I told you those 3 different things. You have electric, you have hybrid, and you have gasoline. One of those is never going away. And if you haven't guessed it, it's gasoline. Gasoline isn't going anywhere. Actually, when I was talking to the CFO, he was still saying that gasoline, so, you know, they won't tell you this because they're trying to push these electric cars, because you got to understand, electric cars are luxury. Okay? You have to have a house, and you have to have somewhere to park your car to charge it. So you're talking about people who making 6 figures plus that can afford to have an electric car. That's number one. Number two, you have to have the infrastructure. So you have to go in. You got to, like, so here I'm in Virginia. You got Dominion Power. You got to contact them. They got to come out there, add the plugs to your house, and then you're going to pay more electricity because you're charging your vehicle there. I'm taking a second to just take a sip. All right. Then you have, like I said, hybrid. The reason why hybrid is very interesting to me is because it's like the best of both worlds. You still getting gasoline, which they say is still the cleanest way in a vehicle. You're like, how, Wendy? Because, you know, they say an electric car, you know, is better for the environment. No, it's not. It's not. Y'all better look at you gotta look at the battery that's made in Tesla and understand that it is not a renewable resource. I'm taking back to high school or middle school when you learn about science, the periodic table. It's not a renewable resource. So once I think it's lithium or it's one of them. Once it's gone, it's gone. So for me, when you hear about like Tesla, to me, you're praying for the brand. You're paying for the owner. And people associate the owner with being top tier, so they buy the car based on what the owner is saying about it. And he is a billionaire. So he's going to promote it because it's his name, and because he appears to be luxury, that's what people see when they see that type of car. Now, there have been other companies that have made the transition into the cars. I mean, we talking about American. Chevy got an electric car. Audi, BMW, like all the big box brands have an electric car. And you understand, you got to watch and learn that they waited for Tesla to come out, and then they started doing things differently. And some of them started doing things better. And that's why they started offering hybrids. Because hybrids allow you to have an electric vehicle, but at the same time, when it ends, the gas kicks in and you have a longer lifespan, and you're doing less for the environment as far as with, you know, the toxins and things that are released in the vehicle. I was in a Prius the other day for a lift, and I didn't even hear the car come because it was so quiet. Because it was, I don't know if it was electric or a hybrid, but it was so quiet, I didn't even hear the car. I had to make sure the car was on because I was like, is the car on? Like, I couldn't even tell. So I'm going to say that I would go for a hybrid because it's the best of both worlds. Or you can still stay with gasoline. I even learned that, you know, even though you have a luxury car, when we consider luxury as a car that takes 93 or better, you do not have to put 93 in the car the whole entire time. You can do mid. You can do regular. You can switch it up where you do regular sometimes, and then you go and do premium the next time. Like, you do not have to consistently put 93 in. And that was important because at the time when I was talking to him, gas was outrageous because we were this was a couple years ago, so we were in the pre-recession. Because if you do not know, we are in the middle of a recession. The last one was when I was about to graduate from A&T, and it was in 2009 when the housing market collapsed right before Obama got into office. So if you don't know what a recession is, Google it. If you need some ideas about why we're in a recession, I can tell you. We're in a recession because look at inflation. A carton of eggs is like $6 now. Just last year, or just 2 years ago during COVID, you can get them for like $2. Look at the price of paper towels. Look at the price of fuel. Look at how the standard of living is continuing to be increased, but you ain't seen no increase in your paycheck. That's important to understand. So like I said, we're in the middle of a recession. Oh, also, the feds will tell you. And when I say the feds, I'm talking about the Federal Reserves when they do the interest rates and they announce, like, you know, the interest rates for cars are going to be this, mortgages are going to be this. Mortgage interest rates are wild right now. They're like at 6-7%. That's a mess. Like, I think when I refinanced my first house, it was like at 2 point something. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, the interest rates are crazy right now. But I'm going to tell everybody else, if you can buy a house, I would still buy a house right now. Because owning property is still the number one, to me, way to have passive income. Because equity, baby, equity is going to grow when you sleep. You'll look up and you'll have $60,000, $50,000, $70,000, $80,000 worth of equity in a house. And you'll be like, how did that happen? And it happens because you buy a home and other people start buying houses. And then they start building up the community and they offer dinner. They got a mall now or a Kroger shopping center, or, you know, they just built a new shopping center, so it's bringing in business. All of that stuff plays in a factor of the property value of your house. When I bought my first house in 2013, I paid $89,000 for it. And I'm full transparency. I was with Southern States. This was my first job, second job out of college. I was making $40,000. I took a pay cut. I took a 20% pay cut to move back to Virginia because I got homesick, and it was in my field, and so I stuck with it. I was paying $835 in Richmond, and I was staying there in VCU. It was all inclusive, but I was around a whole bunch of college kids, and I had to go to work in the morning. So I was like, what can I do? Because a single person always takes L's on a tax return, because it is just what it is. You're single. You don't get the tax breaks that you would for head of household or, you know, owning property. So back then, before Donald Trump redid the tax code, when you owned a home, you could itemize. And it's not like how it is now, because to be honest with you, the standard deduction is so high now. You would have to have a house that's like $200,000-$300,000, and most people can't afford that unless they're what? Married. And that's why I say, like, a lot of deductions and things that are going on, they are all and always have been ways to benefit the people who make over six figures and people that are married. And you get a little bit of a tax break for head of household, but you get the worst tax break for single, because you paying out the most and you getting the, you know, you're not getting that back in return. So anyway, like I was saying, owning property is still, to me, in my opinion, and again, this is my opinion, this is not what is gold and not the gold standard. This is Wendi White from Wendi Consulting LLC's opinion. It's owning property. That's passive income. The secondary for me is stock, because of the dividends and the money that you get back. So I just want to share that, you know, I'm all here for a hybrid. So when y'all see me in this hybrid next year, don't be looking around and being like, what's happening? I'm trying to give you free game right now. I already told y'all, don't stop buying these cars and lease them, because if you have decent credit like me, I put down $500, gave them my EIN number, and I drove off. I don't even think they asked for paycheck stubs. I don't even think I gave them paycheck stub when I bought my car. Tesla uses lithium, like I said. Lithium is not a renewable resource. It will expire. And once it does, what is Tesla going to put in the cars after that? Or not even Tesla. What are these other companies who are still all using lithium? What are they going to put in the car once it's gone? Because it's not a renewable resource. 90% of the world has apartments. Let me say, I'm sorry. Not yet. 90% of this country is apartments. And if you don't believe that, look at Richmond, downtown Shockoe Bottom. They building up high rises near Union. I was driving. I said, what in the world? Like, it ain't building no parking lots, just parking decks so they can charge you to park your car. There are 300 million cars in the United States. 150,000 gas stations. 150,000 gas stations right here in the U.S. with 300 million cars. And the average owner of a Tesla income, if you have not guessed it, is $500,000 plus. I just told y'all, it's a luxury. You got to be able to have it sustained and be able to put electricity in your car. So you got to be making $500,000 plus. 1/5 of California bought electric cars, switched back to gasoline. So 20% of people who bought an electric car switched back to gasoline. I don't know the years, like how long it took for them to switch back. But think about that, because California and Texas are one of the largest population-wise you're going to get. If 20% of them turn back into gasoline and they switched it from electric, that should tell you a lot. And especially because you got to think Silicon Valley, that's where all the money at, that's where all the tech is, that's where all the coins is. If they not even driving electric cars anymore, that's just kind of give you a hint. But thank y'all for allowing me to kick off my first episode in over a year. I'll do real quick, I'll do some plugs. If you like me and you want to work with me, use promo 23 and you get 23% off of your service with me for 2023. Isn't that cute? Y'all like that, right? Jordan here. Hey, 23% off. So use Wendi 23, Wendi WENDI 23 when you're checking out or booking a service in the promo code. Shout out to Square. They make things very easy. I just released my first podcast of the year with Tamala Stewart, who's based out of Tampa. She's from the 757. Whoop, whoop, whoop. And she's decorated interiors, and she is an interior designer. I have a commissioned piece from Tamala, and she did my bedroom for me. She does virtual consultations, so she can help you from Tampa. You do not have to be in Tampa for her to help you, so I'll just give her a plug. Also, I got some things in the pipeline. I'm partnership back with Natasha Griffin, and I'm going to be in the 757, even partnering with another female owner, business owner. Green Yard Grill. So I'll get more information with that probably forthcoming, because I'm still trying to iron out some dates and, you know, verify some things with them. But I do want to let y'all know that I'm backdoor partnerships with Natasha, and we are going to be doing taxes. Like, you know, people can come in and get their taxes done while they eat, or just pop in for 30-45 minutes to have their taxes done.
Let me guess, you try and stack a few dollars. You ain't trying to blow it all. You need financial knowledge. Need some tips on your taxes, so the IRS ain't bending you backwards. Well, you're in luck. You tuned into the master, Wendi Consultant.